Okay, we're going to look at using artboards in Photoshop. This is quite a new function that's come in with Photoshop 2015 CC. Works very similar to artboards in Illustrator. I think the only difference is we have sort of layer groups almost. So they appear as sort of like layer groups, and they are sort of masks rather than separate sort of documents. Now they're really useful if you're creating responsive UI designs, if you want to do one for say an Apple Watch or you want to do one for an Android tablet. You can actually have multiple artboards on here, and that's the power, so you can see them side by side. You can also move them around to different locations and output them all. So we're going to have a go at seeing how you just set up artboards and lay out some designs. So first of all, I'll get going. So I go to the File menu and I say New. Now once I do that, I will go to Document Type and I'm going to select the artboard. Now what you can do is set a preset. Now there's lots of different presets on there. Probably best to select your biggest screen. So I'm going to go for say an iPhone 6, or you can type in the dimensions, but I think it's best to go for your biggest screen first because it gives you a bit of background image on there. So I will go for that and I will set that up. So I'll give it a name. I'm going to say this watches, because we're going to have watches on there. I'll call it watch. And once I've done that, I'm going to click OK to that. Now here's an artboard. Now you'll see the background is quite a sort of a grey colour and it's white and there's not a lot of differentiation. Now what you need to do is click on the background here and I'll change that to dark grey, and now the artboard stands out more on the background. I need to name that artboard, so if it goes to the layers down here, I'm going to type in iPhone 6. So always remember to name your artboards. So I've named that. Now what I need to do is create another artboard. I'm going to do an iPhone 5. So all I will do is go up to the Move tool, and it has Move and Artboard. So I'm going to select the artboard. I'm going to just drag out another artboard. And now I can go up to the size up at the top and change custom, and I can change it to iPhone 5. So there you go. And if I go back over here, I will put in the iPhone 5. So I'll call it that. The button for new artboard, and I'll just click once, and that gives me another artboard. Now let's put it over the top. All I'll do is change it so I want it to be the Apple Watch dimensions. It makes it smaller. I move it into a better location, and then I name that. So go over and name it, and I'll just call it Watch. So I've got all my three artboards. Now I can, again, click on the labels, which are on the top left, move them around so I can put them in any positions I want. I move them along the final one. Okay, so that's how you move the artboard. Don't move them by clicking on the white area. Now I'm going to go for my iPhone 6 to begin with, and I'm going to drag an item on there. So I get a image, drag it out. Now initially it floats on the top, and that gives you the opportunity to give it a bit of a scale. Always scale images down and not up in Photoshop. Then when you're happy, you can click the tick up at the top or press enter or return on your keyboard. Again, I need to scale that slightly a bit more. Okay, take that down. Okay, there we go. Then I will click on the iPhone 5 in the layers to select that artboard, and then drag out another item. Again, it floats on the top. I'm holding the shift, and I'll just scale it down slightly. When I'm happy with it, I will click the tick and move it into a better position, and again scale it slightly. Right, now once I've done that, you'll see if I move that around, that is sort of like a mask. So that's how these work. They sort of mask off areas. They can be quite tricky because as you move things around, they're sort of outside the visible area. Okay, so the final one is I'm going to bring in another item, and I'm going to make sure I click on the watch in the layers and then drag out a final item over here. It's going to be quite large, gives me a chance while it's floating on top these artboards to scale it. I scale it, put it there, and click the tick. Right, so I've got my 3 items on there, on each one, and you'll see all my artboards with the layered items are here. Just about being organized and making sure you've got those on there. Now, it's a common thing you will do to create components that are the same all the way through. If you do a menu bar, you might want to just copy them on all the other ones. So what I'm going to do here is I click on my watch, and if I click on the Alt key, you'll see the arrowhead will turn to a black and white arrowhead. Go finger on the mouse here, and I just drag that over, say to the next screen here, and then I let go. You'll see it's copied it from the watch onto the iPhone 1. And if I just drag that down and just scale that and put it to one side. So that's how you would copy and move items around. Okay, so once that's done, I will now export it. Number of ways you can export it. The first one will go to File, and we'll make sure we save it though before we do that. I'll make sure I saved it in a folder. I'll save it so it's up to date. And now I'll go to the File menu, and I will go to export, and the first one I'll do is the generic quick save as a PNG. I select the folder where I want to save it, and it will export each of those as a PNG file. So if we go down here, and here we are, it's got each of those have been saved as our PNGs on here. So they've all been output as those. Then another way of saving them, you would go to File, you would go down to Export, and you would do this as Export As. And what you can do is go through each of them and save these as PNGs. You can change the quality. I'm going to leave them on 600. You can even change the size, so I'll just leave them on there. And then I'll go export, select the folder. There we have it. It's now exported each of those as a JPEG. And then finally, something else that may be useful. It might be a bit difficult if you've got different size screens, but you can go to File, Export, Export Artboards as PDF. Make sure I save it in the right location. You can just do artboards that are selected, but I'm going to do a lot. It will run it, and if we go, once it's done, it will say it's been done successfully. We'll go down here, and if we open that up as a PDF, okay, we've now opened up the outputted PDF document. It's pretty large here, so I'll just take it down to say 75%, and you'll see it's put each item on its own page. Now that might be an issue if you incorporate in other documents because you've got different size pages, or it might be something that you do want, but it might be just a quick way of showing outputs, incorporating those in things like assignments or reports or other sort of output documents that you want to use for your design work. Okay, so that's just an overview of using the new function of artboards in Photoshop 2015 CC and outputting them in different file formats.